You're listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.
This episode,
we're treading the boards in FAB Facts.
There's a no-holds-barred trip to Monte Carlo in the Randomiser.
and we welcome special effects legend Richard Taylor.
Oh, that's all coming up in pod 161
of the Gerry Anderson podcast.
Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
Well, it's another Gerry Anderson
podcast.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's true. They keep coming, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
It's relentless.
Well, that's how many have reviewed us. You're absolutely right. Somewhere on the spectrum from relentless to monotonous. You
Really?
decide where we are today, Podsteron. Anyway, bringing you the relentless monotony is him over there, Richard James. Him
Hello.
sitting down there on the step.
Yes.
He's fitting new, remember those curly laces when you were a kid?
Yes,
and he's
that's
fitting
right.
those to all the
He
blooming
is, isn't he?
shoes. They're not even his
Oh,
shoes. Anyway,
no.
with the curly laces down there is Chris Dale is his actual
Yep.
name by birth.
Yeah.
And Chris
We
will be
think.
coming later with the randomizer. And I am Jamie Anderson. And
Yes.
the reason I'm here is nepotism. No, it's because I'm the younger son of the late great Gerry Anderson.
Quite right.
And that's why we talk
and
about
I'm Richard
Anderson
James.
stuff. Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
did I say you?
But the reason I'm here is because
Oh.
if I wasn't, you'd be talking to yourself,
Yes.
wouldn't you?
Yes.
You'd have no one to bounce off.
Yeah.
There'd be no banter, would there? No witty banter.
Yes. Yeah. And that
No
would not
bants.
help with the relentless monotony. So.
It really wouldn't.
Anyway, look, we're here with all sorts of stuff, including things like the
Yeah.
Gerry Anderson news.
Yes, that's right.
What
Go
else
on.
have we got? Oh, are we
See
going
how
to
far
do
you
it?
get. You normally hand over to me. Come on.
Yeah, all right, fine. FAB
Go on.
Facts.
Yes, that's
where I have
right.
a book of FAB Facts and I give you a FAB Fact.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's all the stuff from the Podsterons.
Yeah,
from
because they've been
Facebook.
emailing us at-
And they email us at podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk
Yeah,
and
yeah.
tweeting us. Hashtag Gerry Anderson Podcast.
That's it.
And
Yep.
of course, did I say Gerry Anderson news? I did, didn't I?
Yes,
got that.
but you've forgotten a couple of other
and
things.
the randomizer.
Yeah, good,
We did a
right.
randomizer from
That's
Chris
it.
when he's finished with his
That's
twirly
right.
laces. And of course, the guest
There we
interview
are.
this week.
There you go.
Which is with the founder and managing director and boss of Weta in New Zealand. I will give his formal title later on, but his name is Richard Taylor.
Great. And
yes.
could I ask, why is he on the show then? What's his connection to all things Gerry Anderson?
Well, he's a visual effects, miniatures, special effects maestro. Been a fan of Anderson stuff ever since he was a wee lad. And of
Great.
course, Richard's company, Pakeko, was involved in Thunderbirds Are Go in the CGI animated series. So we do touch on that
Lovely.
very briefly. But
Nice.
it is a general chat about his love of all things practical. And then at the very end, of course, as usual, we get into a discussion of practical versus digital. And
Of
I
course.
really enjoyed that bit. I didn't ask him half the questions I planned to, but it was just a very, very enjoyable chat. And we even exchanged details about sheep.
right.
We'll save
Okay.
that for later.
Can't wait.
Anyway, those are all the things
Yeah.
that you can expect from this week's Gerry Anderson podcast.
Yes, that's true. In the meantime, don't forget you can subscribe to us on whichever platform you're listening to us on. Leave us a nice review. Leave us. What's the word I'm looking for? Review or
Revating?
a rating. It's
A
quite
revating.
simple. A revating. Indeed. And also, you can copy the links to your favourite podcasts and share them on your social media and say, "Yeah, I'm listening to the Gerry Anderson podcast, and I think you should too." Something like that. In the
Just
meantime,
like that.
now before we head on into everyone's favourite part of the podcast, Fab Facts, time for a quick email. Do you think?
Oh, that's unusual, but why not?
Well, this one, for example, is from Aid Swatridge, who says, "Hi, I've recently been rereading my collection of TV21 and Lady Penelope comics, and it's been mentioned before about the crossover stories in TV21 where Stingray and XL5 characters turn up in other stories. I hadn't read the Lady Penelope comics before because they were for girls, of course, but I've been intrigued by the Lady P stories, especially as some of the Captain Scarlet characters turned up in a story, which was a big surprise. I'm just wondering if Gerry ever considered doing a film or TV special where characters would cross over, a story where Spectrum, International Rescue, Wasp and World Space Patrol all took part to manage a massive threat. What a great story that would be." What do you think of that?
Well, it's been discussed many times that sort of thing would have been great, but it's not the answer that I know you want. But I'm afraid it is the answer I'm going to give, which is really, it was the TV21 team that were really pushing the kind of shared universe thing and putting characters in other shows.
Yeah.
I think for Dad, it was much more a case of these things are, discrete units. The world of Thunderbirds is not the same as the world of Captain Scarlet, certainly not when they were making the shows. That's not to say it never would have happened. I wonder, especially now, if he'd had access to all the IP, that's the sort of thing exactly he would have been doing. No, I don't think that was the intention originally, but wouldn't it be great fun?
Yes, it would indeed. Yeah, that'd be great. And finally, just for now, very quickly, Miles Parrish says, "Hi, Richard and Jamie. As you may recall, I've recently binged the podcast from 2018 to present, so my listening habits have been basically the Gerry Anderson podcast all hours, 24/7, 365 streamathon since February." Yes, you were asking Jamie about people's listening habits and if they've changed since, hopefully around the world, we're coming out of our various lockdowns. And Miles continues, "Now that I've caught up, you're the first podcast I put on when I get in the car on a Tuesday. Being in Australia, new episodes come out late on Monday afternoon for me. My new binge-a-thon, or perhaps I should say binge-a-thon, is the Benji and Nick show. But you guys are still my first and greatest podcast love."
Oh, thanks.
Isn't that sweet?
Shucks.
He says, "I hope you both have some time scheduled for a well-earned post-lockdown pint with each other. All the best, Miles Parrish."
Oh,
yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
Miles.
Post-lockdown pint sounds lovely.
When are we getting a pint?
I don't know. We should do that, shouldn't we? Definitely.
We should go to the Thunderbirds Hotel and have a pint.
Yes, great idea.
Okay, done.
Yeah.
See you there.
Yeah, there you go. And a little later on, I got some more comments, and so I did actually pop onto our Facebook group and asked the Podsterons there if there was anything they wanted to ask you, Jamie. So we've got some questions coming up a little bit later on.
Okay, well, while we make our way to that, shall we traverse the field of Fab Facts?
Oh, that's right. Let's see if we can pick up a few sparkling gems along the way.
Okay, we can but hope. Here we go.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
It's Fab Facts, where I've got a book of Fab Facts. I will flick through said book of Fab Facts at a random point, and it is very random. Richard will shout Fab. At that point, I'll stop flicking the pages, and hopefully upon those pages will be a Fab Fact, which I will then read to you, dear Podsteron.
Yeah, great.
Richard James, are you ready for the flicking?
Born ready.
Here we go.
Fab!
Oh, see, I flicked fast, and you waited till quite late.
Yes, I thought so.
Oh. Richard James?
Yes?
I have a feeling that actually this is a Fab Fact that you should read.
Oh?
Because it relates to you. Here's the book.
Oh, come on. Pass it over. All right.
There you go.
Okay.
See?
Just there. Right. Jamie?
Yes.
Listeners, if I was to say to you, Thunderbirds stage show, what do you think of?
Well, I think of being in the foyer of the Palladium in about 1990, maybe 1991. Cardboard Thunderbirds hat, amazing.
I can see it now. Yes, exactly. The long-running, much-loved Thunderbirds FAB stage show, which was first performed in Edinburgh in 1984 by Andrew Dawson and Gavin Robertson, and enjoyed phenomenal success during tours throughout the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s. And as Nicholas Parsons would say, not only in the UK, but around the world. Along the way, several other familiar names from the Anderson universe would also participate in the show, including Wayne Forrester, Rob Thurtle, and some bloke named Richard James.
No,
sounds familiar. However, we're not here to talk about that show today as much as it deserves to be talked about, because did you know, it says here, that even before Andrew and Gavin and the rest started running around with models of the Thunderbirds craft strapped to their heads, there had already been a Thunderbirds stage show.
I don't think I did.
Not many people do, no, because it only ran for about a year, from April 1974 to April 1975, which means that the show was running during production of the first season of Space 1999. This Thunderbirds stage show was produced by Stage 3, a theatre company that included former Super Marination puppeteers Rowena White and Christine Glanville. So Christine produced the puppets, while Rowena not only provided their clothes, but also wrote the scripts for the 3 stories that would make up the show. These puppets were not marionettes on wires, but instead rod-operated puppets worked from below. And they were miming to pre-recorded dialogue. They had heads much larger than their television counterparts, so that they could be seen much better on the stage from the audience.
Makes sense.
They had a voice cast, including Sylvia Anderson's daughter Dee as Lady Penelope, plus actors Kerry Jewell, David Schofield, Malcolm Story. Some big theatre names there providing the voices of the male characters. The show was produced following Stage 3's success with their show Rupert Bear and His Puppet Pals.
Oh,
Doesn't that sound lovely?
yeah.
But unfortunately, their version of Thunderbirds wasn't destined to be quite so successful.
Oh, shame.
After a strong opening in Chelmsford, and we've all had one of them, and then an even more successful run in Gravesend, the plan was to spend a summer season at Bournemouth's Pier Theatre. However, the show was dropped after just 4 weeks following attendance figures that could perhaps be best described as dismal.
Oh dear.
We've all had those as well. The audience returned for a few more successful performances elsewhere in the country later in the year, but unfortunately the show's failure in Bournemouth soon got around in the theatre world and no one wanted to take them on after that, so the final performance was at the Gloucester Leisure Centre in April 1975.
What a classy
Podsterons,
place to go
perhaps
out.
You were there. Yeah, absolutely. However, the puppets from that show apparently still survive. You can see a picture of them on the entry for the Stage 3 production on the Thunderbirds wiki page, and also if you have the complete book of Thunderbirds you should be able to find some publicity photos from the tour. But we would love to hear your memories of this show if you ever got to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do drop us a line, podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk with any memories of the show, and if you still have any pictures that you took and feel like sharing them with your fellow Podsterons, you can post them on the Podcast Listeners Facebook page. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Amazing.
Were you there? Did you see the original Thunderbirds stage show in 1975?
Well, I definitely did not,
Extraordinary.
and I have to confess to not being aware to this fact prior to that.
No,
So-
I had no idea. But how interesting it would have been a show with puppets rather than men running around pretending to be puppets.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
both had their own merits, I would say.
Yes, quite right, yeah. So there we go. That's a Fab Fact featuring the original Thunderbirds story
Amazing.
on stage.
Thanks, Dexter. Thank you for reading that. I appreciate that.
Oh, now, so hang on. Now I've got to say, and that brings us to the end of this week's
Stage
Fact. Oh, well, yes, you're a little bit hesitant there. I think we did it all right, didn't we?
It was the other way around. Normally, you've got time to be thinking about what you know.
That's right.
Yeah, it all
That's
went a
very
bit
strange.
wrong.
Well,
Anyway, can I have the book back?
Yeah,
please?
take it back because
Yeah.
that was felt a bit
Thank you.
strange me doing it this week.
Yeah.
I must say.
Yeah,
I think I've only ever done it once before, haven't I?
God, in 160 odd. I can't remember when we introduced Fab Facts.
No,
but,
that's why it feels so weird. Yeah, I'm not doing that again.
Oh, okay.
It would be
Shake
a
it
bit
off,
like
shake
you
it off.
singing "That was the news, that was the news."
Yeah, that ain't ever going to happen. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Fine.
Anyway,
Yeah.
have we got stuff from Podsterons?
Well, of course we have. So Paul G, for example, said, regardless of licensing or production costs, what's the one piece of merchandising that you'd love to release but never will?
Full size Scott Tracy pilot seat, human
really?
size. Yeah.
Wow.
Just be too expensive and too complex, but it would be very cool, wouldn't it?
It would be cool, and that's the sort of thing you could take along to conventions and charge people 10 quid a pop to sit in and have their picture taken.
Yes. Well, some time ago it was discussed actually about having a human size Scott Tracy chair because there was one in Japan when I went out to Tokyo a few years ago. They had one there at the exhibition, which was rather cool. So anyway, in fact, I might have a picture of it somewhere. I'll see if I can find it, and maybe we'll post it on Podsteron's Facebook group if I can find it.
Indeed. Alex Pass asks, we've got a steadily growing collection of fantastic Anderson audios. Are there any plans for an Anderson audio player for the MP3 versions?
That might be a bit niche. You never know, but no current plans.
Yeah, okay. Gary Hodgkinson says, have you got a copy of the Look-In Worlds of Gerry Anderson mail out in the Anderson archives? And he posted a picture.
Probably not, no.
No. Tom Hodden says, who would win in a fight, Tiger Neinstein or Virgil Tracy?
That's difficult actually. Probably Virgil.
Yeah.
But only just.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay. Jonathan Westall says, have you asked Chris Barry or Robert Llewellyn for an appearance on the podcast, or even to do a special intro for the Randomiser with Chris Dale?
Oh, dear. Richard, do you want to talk about Chris Barry for a second?
I did bump into Chris Barry when I used to live in Cookham, just over the river, and we did exchange a few words about him possibly doing an interview, but then it never happened. I think, actually, he never returned my email.
Yeah, a bit like Ross Kemp and
we don't need to go over that
all
right
the other
now,
ones who you've promised to.
No, that's right. Wendy Craig. But anyway, and finally, for now, Scott Bicleaky says, ever thought of doing an interview with Shane Ritchie? He's a Gerry Anderson fan.
Yes, Shane is on my radar.
Yeah, very busy man, I should imagine.
Yes, exactly, particularly post I'm a Celebrity COVID edition. I think he's been even more busy. But
yes,
I hope so in due course. And Shane, if you're listening right now, then, because isn't Shane a member of the Facebook group?
I don't think so, is he?
I think he's a member of the general Gerry Anderson Facebook group. So, yes, he's around. So, go and pester him on there.
Yeah,
I mean, not in a horrible way, just encourage him to come on the podcast.
Yeah, all for now, but more questions later on, Jamie.
Good. I look forward to those and many more to come.
Yeah.
While we wait for those, how about a little tiny dose of Gerry Anderson news?
Oh, that would be lovely.
Oh, let's do it then. Gerry Anderson news. Yes, here we go. Let's start with this then. So let's start with, Stingray, surely. Stingray. Da-da-da-da. If you missed the announcement, how could you? The Stingray Operation Ice Cap hardback and audiobook CD and download is now available for pre-order. Ooh. Let's listen to the trailer. We can't not listen to the trailer. Here it is.
Stand by for action. We are about to launch Stingray.
Acceleration rate 6, phones. Let's go.
Looks like one of those flying saucers.
You boys have no idea what two determined girls can do when they try.
Stingray! Refill. I am calling battle stations.
But the Poseidon could have come up on any of the 4 cold currents from Antarctica.
Watch it, Troy. Blizzards can blow up mighty fast down here. A giant squid! Fire a sting missile!
Too late!
Oh, Marina!
We must see that Troy Tempest does not lack company in the Antarctic wastes. It can be very, very lonely down there.
Anything can happen in the next half hour.
Stingray! Stingray! Stingray!
Anderson Entertainment presents Stingray, Operation Ice Cap.
Love it.
Oh, it's so good. And, they're all lovely, all amazing voices. There's Mark Silk there as Troy Tempest. There's our old friend Nick Briggs in there too as Titan and Commander Shaw. Wayne Forrester as Phones and X20. You only hear his little cackle in there, but Wayne's X20 is absolutely gorgeous. But kudos, I think, to Jules de Jong. Wow.
Yes.
That Atlanta. Oh, it's just got that lovely lilt. It's, really, really fantastic Lois Maxwell voice there.
Yeah.
Sounds great. It is great. You're really going to enjoy it. If you want the hardback or the physical CD set, you can order it from the Gerry Anderson store. And Big Finish announced just last week that Stingray and 5 Star 5 are now available for pre-order with them for digital versions. So go there. Please note they are separate. Big Finish and Anderson Entertainment are separate businesses. Big Finish have the exclusive on the digital downloads. We have the exclusive on the physical. Never the twain shall meet. Buying one doesn't mean you get access to another. We can't do those deals, sadly. We're just not able to do them. So it's a bit of an either or. But if you fancy getting both to support the productions, then we'd be ever so grateful too. Over to Space 1999 for a bit. The Eagle Moss Eagles. Eagle 1, which you may have pre-ordered already from the Gerry Anderson store, is coming at the end of July. That's just a couple of weeks now, so that's very soon. And the Laboratory Edition, which will be out in late September, very early October, is also now available to pre-order. We have the exclusive on that for the Gerry Anderson store, so you can get it from Eagle Moss Direct or us, nowhere else. If anywhere else has got it listed, they actually won't be able to get it. They're just being a bit cheeky and listing it, hoping that they can buy it later on, but they can't. So if you want the Eagle Laboratory Edition, 10 inches long, really gorgeous, from Eagle Moss, then pre-order it from the Gerry Anderson store. Pretty please. The update on hardbacks for you: Thunderbirds Terror from the Stars and 5 Star 5, John Lovell and the Zargon Threat by Richard James.
Oh, yes.
Have a chat. They should be in stock at the end of July. We are catching up now. We had some print issues and supply issues, more continuation fallout from COVID and Brexit and Suez Canal stuff, but we're catching up rapidly, and these lovely hardbacks should be in stock by the end of the month, or very, very soon after. If you're looking for a bargain, may I suggest very nicely that you head over to the Anderson Entertainment eBay store, where we've got a load of returns, excess stock and other items which are heavily discounted. Lots of you taking advantage of that already. Just search Anderson Entertainment on eBay for the store there. And if you have just joined us and missed Captain Scarlet Day, which is on the Saturday just gone, the 10th of July, how could you? But if you did, don't worry. We put up a free episode of New Captain Scarlet, Enigma, as chosen by the Anderson Entertainment team. It's a great choice. And also Chris Dale's latest video contribution, The Mysteron Files, documenting everything we know or don't know about the Mysterons. That'll get you in the mood for Captain Scarlet, if nothing else will. And I think that's probably it. There's other stuff going on the Gerry Anderson website. Just pop along to gerryanderson.co.uk. If you fancy becoming an insider and want some extra inside track on what's going on, some extra behind the scenes and naughty little tidbits, they're not naughty, they're good, then go along to shop.gerryanderson.co.uk and you'll find a link to insiders in the menu there.
Great.
But that is it for this week's Gerry Anderson News.
That was the news. That was the news.
Yeah.
We seem to
Fettle and voice today.
run out of voice files from listeners.
Yeah, it's funny that.
That didn't last long, did it?
No, not as long as 6 Degrees of Anderson.
Anderson.
And I do hope you're all working on yours.
Yes, quite right. What was it you offered last week?
It's a dry wipe whiteboard marker to Dick Spanner. And we'll start reading those out next week. We're giving you plenty of time to find your 6 degrees of separation.
Yes, quite right. And in the meantime, Ask Jamie Part 2. Neil Holloway asks, can you ask Jamie, is he going to dress up like Joe 90 on the next Fab Live? And if not, why not?
Next, please.
Hugh Porter, hi Jamie. I know you hate Joe 90, but if you had a favourite episode from Joe 90, what would it be?
I've already said, actually, it's International Concerto.
Yeah.
Because it's really fun and creative and interesting, and the sort of piano work and stuff is fantastic. So there you go.
Maria Alice asks, there's Funko Pops of Lady Penelope, Parker and Brains. If there were more Anderson characters done, which characters would you pick for the next trio?
Oh, you see, well, I'm sad to assume that there aren't going to be any more.
Yeah.
Because I don't think those first three did very well, but I'm amazed that they didn't go out with, surely it would have made sense to go with Scott, Virgil, and maybe Brains or maybe the Hood.
Yeah.
I mean, they did go with Brains, but to put out Penny, Parker, and Brains on the first run seems really weird. But I mean, Space 1999, guys, I'd love a Victor Bergman Funko Pop. That would be great, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't that be brilliant?
Lovely Barry Morse side Bernie Funko. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Aaron Rook says, when can we expect an update on Firestorm? I can't wait for more.
Oh, when we can. That's all I can say, really.
Yes.
There's always stuff going on, but yes, things move very slowly in Tellyland,
hasn't it? Yeah, that's right.
It has indeed. But yes, in due course.
James Pilsonwood, without telling us the project unless you can, is there a project you sit back in your chair and think, I can't believe we're able to do this? That's a difficult one because you can't mention very much at all, can you?
All I can do is sit back in my chair and go...
And that thing.
I mean, the thing we were talking about immediately before this recording, I guess, is pretty cool because of the personal angle. That'll mean something to you shortly.
I don't think that's been mentioned at all, has it, on the podcast?
No, it hasn't.
No,
and obviously there's that other thing next year that we're talking about, which could be great.
Yes. It also hasn't been mentioned at all.
No, but will get mentioned in due course. And then there's some other things. Yeah, there's several things, James, which should fill you with potential joy because they'll all be great.
That's right. Rob Doyle asks, will there be a Kindle version of the new books being produced by Anderson Entertainment?
Yes, there will. And in fact, I've just seen some emails going back and forth
a
few minutes ago with the Kindle files for the first two. So, yes.
Marvellous. Great. Good news. And finally, Simon Allen says, plans for Pod 200, a 7-hour podcast, maybe?
Why 7 hour? Surely 200 hours? No.
When's that? It's sort of 38 weeks' time, isn't it? When might that be? I can't really... Was that April, May, March, April time next year?
Hang on.
Maybe there'll be something around that time. We could tie in with Pod 200.
Just having a look.
Yeah.
What will the date be? 38 weeks from today.
Yeah.
Will be the 14th of March.
14th of March, okay. Yeah.
That's very close to my birthday, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yes.
So maybe we could do a birthday edition. But yeah, and I think surely a 200-minute extravaganza for the 200th podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit of live recording at the Thunderbirds Hotel in Slough?
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah,
that'd be fun.
Yeah, we could do that.
And, live cocktails afterwards?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
see, talking my language there. Right, yes,
exactly.
sorry, moving on.
Yeah, that's all right. No, all for now. More Facebook posts and Twitterings and emails a little later on.
Brilliant. Thank you, Podsterons. Thank you, Richard James. I'm looking forward to those. Now, Richard James, I've already mentioned the name of our contributor for this week's interview. I've almost forgot what they're called. And I can only say his name once with his correct title. So,
right. Is he like the Candyman? Oh no, that's 3 times.
He'll come and haunt me possibly if I say it wrong. Anyway, look, you may have heard of a couple of his productions and things he's been involved with. I mean, the least well known of those is probably something called the Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, you know all that sort of stuff. Okay, fine. Yeah. Well, Richard was instrumental in bringing those 3 movies and countless others to life. He is technically Sir Richard Taylor. But I promised I would only say that once, so I will only call him Richard or Richard Taylor from this point onwards. But that honorary title has been disposed has been what's the word I'm looking for? Bestowed on him. Thank you very much. Oh dear, here we go. So anyway, we had a fantastic chat. He's in New Zealand, and so it was a late night for me and an early morning for him. He is a very smart man who has achieved an awful lot and continues to do so. We had a chat beforehand about all the stuff he's doing right now, and it is inspiring and terrifying in equal measure, and yet he still made time to give us an hour, so I was super grateful for that. So without further ado, here is Weta's Richard Taylor.
Hello, Jamie. It's Richard Taylor here in Wellington, New Zealand. I'm at Weta Workshop. I'm the design and effects supervisor at Weta Workshop, but I'm also the co-founder of the Weta Companies, but co-owner of Weta Workshop with my wife, Tanya. And I'm also one of the co-owners of Pukeko Pictures, who were the company that made Tag. So it's lovely to be here with you, Jamie, and everyone else, of course.
Of course, all the lovely Podsterons, our listeners. So you might just be one of the busiest men alive working in entertainment, so we're very lucky to get you for a chat. So thank you to you, and thank you to Ree for organising it. Really appreciate it. I have known you are a long-standing Anderson fan for a long time, and our paths crossed briefly at Comic-Con in 2014, and I heard a little bit more about then. But if you wouldn't mind, Richard, just to start us off, jumping in the TARDIS with me and popping back in time to some of your earliest TV memories, specifically those around Anderson stuff. Are there any things in your childhood that stick out that kind of got you hooked on these things?
Yeah, absolutely. Arguably the very reason that we do this for a living here at the workshop, a great deal of there were many moments of inspiration, and depending on the interview that you're doing, so you're generous to the individual interviewing you on their specific fandom. Just the other day, someone's borrowed them. Someone sent me some new Fangoria magazines, and there you go. Or reprints of Fangoria, and so of course you acknowledge that Fangoria magazine was hugely into, but which it was, but nothing like the Thunderbirds. I grew up in the UK. I was born in Cheshire. My dad's from Oldham. My mum's from Wolverhampton. And we actually had a telly in those very early years, and of course Thunderbirds was playing, and I used to watch Doctor Who through the crack in the door like this, and I still have trauma every time I'm in a British underground because of a Doctor Who episode that I saw when I was 4 years old. But of course, with the Thunderbirds, I sat like this with my face on the television, just trying to soak it all up. I perceived it as being totally real. I didn't read them as puppets. I didn't read it as a fictitious world. That's probably why I got an unhealthy obsession with Lady Penelope, which is still questionable today. And my wife hasn't told me that I call out Penelope's name in my sleep, but maybe I do, I'm not sure. But we then moved to New Zealand, and thankfully we moved into very rural New Zealand, a place called Te Hihi, a community of 14 families, but we got a black and white television set, and thankfully Thunderbirds continue to play on our TV. In fact, everything that Gerry made played on our TV. Being a sort of colony of the British Empire to some degree, of course, our primary television watching was British TV and sitcoms and comedy and the news and so on. So the world of Gerry's TV was painted across our TV. It's interesting, at this point, I'd never seen the Thunderbirds in colour, didn't even understand that they were colour. And it wasn't till, I think, my early teens that we finally got a colour telly. And suddenly the whole of the Thunderbirds universe lit up for me in bright colour, and it was cool. I had a great love of Thunderbird 4 Gordon. I always dreamed of being a submariner. You know, kids wanted to be train drivers or spaceship flyers, but I fancied the idea of being a submariner, and whether that came from 20,000 Leagues and a combination of other things. But Thunderbird 4, I think almost because of its beautiful, bright yellow, once I understood its colour, over-accentuated plumpness as this cool submarine, because all submarines are these long, thin, slick things, and it was a car under the water. And I could imagine me now to drive my parents' mini moke, which was also, it was bright orange, into the ocean. Thank God I never did. So anyway, that's sort of the beginning of it all. My friend, we lived near a psychiatric hospital called Kingseat Hospital, and my dear friend had some dinky toys, and he had Joe 90's car, and so I got to go to his place and fondle his cast metals and play with his Joe 90 car. So that's one of the warmest memories. Today, obviously, I've been able to collect some of my own. You can see I've got this incredibly doggies and completely wrong colour.
The blue one.
Yeah, but some of the things still work.
It's got one leg.
Got one leg, and the pod drops out, even though the door's gone and there's nothing in it. But I love this thing, so it sits on my desk here as a fond. I won't even try and put the pod back in. Yeah, so
brilliant. Amazing. So you had a combination of the puppets and not even considering them really as puppets.
No, obviously I did in later life, and I started to copy them. I got my art training or my early art inspiration because on the farm that we were just living in a share milker's cottage. My parents didn't do the share milking. My mum was a science teacher and my father was an aircraft engineer, and he'd drive the near hour trip a day into Auckland to go and work at the airport. But I just always knew I wanted to do art and paper mache and that sort of stuff. So I started digging clay out of a creek on the back of the farm and taught myself to sculpt, because it's as good as any clay that you would buy from a pottery providers. That's where clay comes from, that sort of source. And I started making my own Thunderbird, very crude Thunderbird models, etc. But of course, very quickly came to understand in my teens that this was a model-made world with puppets. I was less fascinated by the puppets, even though I became a puppet maker. I've made hundreds of puppets commercially, than I was fascinated with the miniature worlds and the way that on a tabletop, it was obvious to me how big they were because I could identify components from our own kitchen or my dad's workshop. And so I began to understand the scale of them. And the love of starting to make things in miniature became really fascinating to me. My dad and I built an 8-show gauge railway set in my bedroom and tried to do all the landscaping and so on. And then I started painting miniature soldiers and building little dioramas for them and really got into that. And all of that was inspired by, arguably the full suite of Gerry's work, but you've got to say that Thunderbirds was the cornerstone of that because it's the first thing that I discovered as a child and just became passionate with them. And I don't know that I've got a Thunderbird 2 here that normally hangs off the fire system above my head, but there's something so exceptionally beautiful in the designs even today that a sophisticated designer could call out as being extraordinary pieces of design. You could argue that is as sophisticated a piece of design as the best of Jaguar at the time that Jaguar came out at the same time this was designed, right?
Yeah.
And it's just an intuitive design. And I think even if you're a little kiddie, as most of the people listening in would have discovered Thunderbirds at a very, very early age, I think good design is good design is good design. And as a human, you just engage with really good design, when at that time there was an awful lot of really bad design on television. And I just think you intuitively engage with things that even as a 4-year-old, are exquisite pieces of conceptual thinking. And I'd like to think that's true because it gives even more credit to Derek and the team that were doing it all,
So, do you think that actually Derek's design eye and those vehicles may well be the element of the show that gives it its longevity and keeps people coming back? It's hard to try and break it down and try and put a formula to it, but they seem to be the things that keep people engaged.
They are the thing that keeps instant brand awareness, I guess. That the puppets, I guess, today have instant brand awareness because of their retro qualities. But to some degree, dare I say, the puppets sit in a slightly different design language and world to the vehicles and some of the architecture and the secondary vehicles. The puppets were what they needed to be to achieve the results required, executed at the most beautiful level possible. And they are, as a technical piece of model making and as an artistic sort of caricatured representation of people, absolutely, unequaled, beautiful. Yeah. But there's another level to the sophistication of design of the vehicles. Had he been designing in the automotive industry, he would have been at the bleeding edge of automotive design. Should he be alive today, he would have been headhunted by the Elon Musks of the world because he was at the bleeding edge of design. And you just can't not respect that as you move forward and through your life. As your life becomes less cluttered by the things that you want to pursue and the things you want to have fandom for. My dear friend David Tremont, who's sort of diagonally 100 meters away underneath my feet, sort of down there in his workshop, him and I have had endless conversations over the years about the superiority of design that exists in these vehicles. And it was almost an epoch of design that was happening in that tiny little place at that time. with this group of people, with Derek leading. And, you look at Lady P's car, you've got one behind your head. How superior that was as a piece of car design at the time.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah, when you compare it to all the other fantastical sci-fi Buckminster Fuller type car designs that are coming out, many of them are laughable when you place them next to something like Lady P's car.
What a lovely man, and what a lovely chat.
Yes. Fascinating.
I should say thank you to Richard's executive assistant, Ree, who arranged all that, and both of us had to cancel each other at least twice each, I think, to make time for it. So thank you, Ree, for pushing through, and thank you, Richard, for your time. And during the recording, I could see over Richard's shoulder a reflection in the glass of a picture behind him. Ree would stand up occasionally and give him a warning of 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left, 2 minutes, we've got to go. So it was, he is probably one of the busiest men in telly. So we're very lucky to get him.
Extraordinary.
So, bit more from Richard next week. In the meantime, go to wetaworkshop.com if you want to learn more. And also, thanks to our friend of the podcast, David Tremont, who was instrumental in setting up that interview. So, David, thank you. That is all. More Richard Taylor next week.
Nice.
What have you got for us, Richard James?
Well, I want an executive assistant. How does one get one of those?
Oh, I think one has to be very important and high-flying and high-achieving, so that's us both out the window.
Right. Yeah, that'll never happen with it. Over on our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups Podsterons, people have been posting, for example, John McDonald posted a picture of a book, Terrorhawks Making the Unexpected. He says, "Hi, Podsterons. Just a quick word on this curio from the Gerry Anderson store, bought for pennies. This is not essential if you're not a huge Terrorhawks fan, but if you're interested in some amazing archive interviews with Gerry and his collaborator Christopher Burr, as well as many familiar faces and voices from the Supermarionation era, it's worth a few moments of your time. Also, it's fun seeing how these guys had to adapt their creative skills in a different time and budget. Big thanks to Network again for yet another lovely TV time capsule." And that's from John McDonald. Nice.
The HD version of that is on the Blu-ray set, and that looks amazing because it's from the original Negs. So
great,
it looks like it was filmed yesterday, and you've got people on there like Christine Glanville,
amazing,
cuddling. I think she cuddling Youngstar or Hawkeye? She's cuddling, and explaining how the puppets work and stuff. It's just really worth a watch.
We've been talking recently, haven't we, about people's undershelves, and Miles Parrish posted, "Giving my apartment a power clean today, but got distracted when I arrived at my first stop, the bookcase of nerdery, just inside my front door." He says, "My product, Enterprise Stingray, is such a joy to behold, and it has such heft too. Love this one." And he posted a gorgeous picture of his Stingray model there.
Yes.
James Johnson posted, "Oh my giddy aunt, I've just finished disc 1 of Terror from the Stars, and I know it's been said before, but by golly, it's good." He says, "I read the book a couple of years ago, so unfortunately I know the direction the story's headed in, but nevertheless, it's been so well put together here. The music is fantastic, very Barry Gray-esque, and yet new as well. The scene in which the Hood calls on Kirano is nothing but superb in the voice acting, scoring, and narration. Any discrepancies the nitpicking side of my brain brought up about the way certain characters had behaved or sounded previously completely vanished here, and I was legitimately absorbed. I eagerly await the opportunity to listen to the rest of it and for when we get more of these enhanced audiobooks."
Yes, and many more to come. In fact, Stingray they finished recording a couple of weeks ago, and by the time you hear this, I believe the first couple of sessions of the next Thunderbirds book will have been recorded. Title to be confirmed, but I'm telling you now, it will not be called its original name. I'm not going to say which book it is either, but a cool new name to come, and we were talking about that earlier on, and it's great because, if we just call it Thunderbirds, and it wouldn't have been the same as Terror from the Stars. Terror from the Stars sounds really 60s and great and Thunderbirdsy, and I can tell you the next title sounds as great and 60s and Thunderbirdsy.
Lovely. All for now, but do pop along to our Facebook group and answer a couple of questions. We'll let you in, and you can join in the fun.
Lovely. I look forward to reading and hearing more in due course. Now, Chris Dale is loitering now with his high-top trainers, they're Nikes, I suppose, but with fluorescent curly laces. Chris, they do suit you.
They do.
Not sure you needed the ones sort of round your head and poking out of your ears, but it sort of works.
I don't know. Yeah, it does. But it's a look.
Yeah, I think, it sort of suits him. So, Chris, your randomiser's just over there. I can see it looks very shiny and nice and ready for pressing. So why don't you go and press the big red button and choose a random episode for yourself to watch?
It's dashed decent of you to come all this way to see an old friend.
Not at all, Sir Jeremy. It's very kind of you to offer to press the button today.
Where do we start, then?
Well, right here with the button. Normally.
Capital.
There, that's it. I bet our listeners are very excited to hear what you picked today.
And where might they be? Is it safe to talk?
Oh, quite safe, yes. They're all jolly good people. Well, all except that one, of course.
Who is this blackguard?
Well, it's... Oh, no time to go into that now. We've got the printout to look at.
Good luck, old man.
And let's see... Oh.
Found something?
Yes, forget luck. Skill is what's called for today. It's one of my favourite episodes from one of my very favourite shows. Here's Joe 90 with The Race.
It hardly seems possible.
Sir Jeremy Odge, thank you very much indeed.
You would have succeeded without me.
Well, that really is jolly sporting of you, old boy.
I say, open this door at once. We're British.
So welcome back to Joe 90 on the Randomiser, and a very clever opening to this episode as we go straight from the opening titles into the episode itself. This was something they did on the first and second episodes in production order. It's been a while since they did it here. Actually incorporate
Joe, the transfer's complete.
The title sequence into the story itself. I think that is such a clever idea.
By the morning.
And I wish they'd done it more often.
To bed.
Okay, Dad.
And Joe, don't forget these.
But whenever they do it, it's always so clever, especially this coming... this is episode, I think, 17 or 18. So it's quite a long way from the start of the show. And it's slightly unsettling, and then you realise what's going on. Oh, right, that is part of the story, that Joe has just been given a brain pattern, and now he's been given his glasses, and it's off to bed. And I believe originally... Tony Barwick, for it is he, his script for this story didn't include this opening scene, and possibly did not include the end scene to this episode as a consequence, because we see that Mac and Joe with his glasses on, they're each in their rooms asleep, but...
Monte Carlo.
They're both having a dream.
Win the race.
Must win the race.
They both seem to be having the same dream.
Glass.
The road's like glass.
Look out!
Look out!
And that the road's like glass line does not appear in the dream itself, for this is a dream episode, but it almost need not be.
I reckon World Intelligence London is obsolete.
Because there's nothing in here that's especially outlandish as a story idea.
And some of your men can be absorbed.
Absorb?
It's not like in Stingray where you'd have shrinking or underwater palaces and cavemen and such.
More efficient?
Weston, you've got a bad habit there, repeating everything I say. It's the sign of a sloppy mind.
Sloppy mind?
But instantly a lovely antagonistic relationship and rivalry established between Shane Weston here and...
Army are going to take over?
This is General... I've forgotten this character's name.
Can't match the manpower and resources of the Army.
The Army absorbs this department over my dead body.
Colonel Army Guy, as played by Jeremy Wilkin.
I figured. I've never backed down from a fight.
Neither have I.
All right, Mr. Weston. I think I know a way we can settle our little difference.
Oh, it's General Tempest, I believe.
Good.
No relation.
We do.
So, yep, nice rivalry established there and a challenge of some sort being made.
Agreed, Chief. Yes, I agreed. That General Tempest needs taking down a peg or two.
But you don't seriously think the Army could take over WIN London?
No, but the General does have a lot of influential friends. He could make trouble.
And if we win, the General will forget this takeover idea?
If we win? Where's your confidence, Sam? When we win.
And something I love with this episode is the leader of each side is really dedicated and determined to be the victor, and everyone else really isn't bothered.
Now, Clooney, for the purposes of this exercise, I'm promoting...
General Tempest, He's got Captain Grey as
Be quiet, Lieutenant.
As Lieutenant Burns.
Major?
And here's Gary Files as
Just don't know what to say.
Private, now Major Clooney.
Major, you better go and get the U-87 ready.
Yes, sir.
Dismiss, Major.
And Clooney is a very nice looking puppet. You don't immediately realise that you have seen him before in Captain Scarlet, even though you might not recognise him. He was one of the bank robbers in Heart of New York, but he's had a change of hair since then. He's got a new wig, and it suits him much better than the blonde hair he used to sport.
We've got ourselves into a race with the Army. That's it. London to Monte Carlo.
Sounds like an extended paper chase to me.
It'll be a test of initiative, Professor, as well as speed and endurance.
It could be great fun, Mr. Weston.
Fun, Joe? We should never have allowed ourselves to be talked into this.
Sam, how can we lose with a team like ours?
I also love that Joe is on board with the idea of the thing as well.
Our team.
Why, you and I, Professor. And our trump card, last year's winner of the Monte Carlo Rally, Joe 90. Get it?
That's nice. And this is a nice vehicle as well that the jet air car is going to be racing against, the U-87.
If he loses, he'll sign a recommendation that military intelligence take over WIN London.
Have we any idea what type of vehicle they'll be using?
I don't know, but you can bet it'll be no match for ours. Hey, Major Clooney.
It looks a lot like the explosives truck from Colonel McLean, except it's big enough to hold 3 people in the cab.
Here we come. I'm really quite excited about it all.
So am I, Dad.
And it's a lovely idea for a story, and it's not the kind of thing that has come up before in the Super Mario Nation world. You would think that an idea of just a simple race is such a simple idea. Why did they never do something like this in Thunderbirds, for instance?
When General Tempest is around...
Yes, I have just remembered Moving You're Dead, but, it's like the rules there were slightly different. Here it's like, it's not a death race with blood and entrails being spewed all over the racetrack. It may have happened elsewhere, but I do think it's lovely the way it's executed here. And here we see General Tempest's superior is also completely uninterested by this vendetta he's got against Shane Weston.
This is Sam Louver, World Intelligence. Louver, your boss hasn't thrown in the towel already, has he?
I shouldn't think so, General.
And another lovely set, this dilapidated old barn that this race is launching from. Again, if this barn was especially created for this episode, someone's gone to enormous trouble to paint that to look so old and authentic.
Hey, Weston, what's that you've got there?
May I introduce my team? Professor McLean and his son, Joe.
You've got to be joking. You call that boy a genuine member of World Intelligence and...
He is. He's Wynn's most special agent. Where's your team?
Right there. Lieutenant Burns and Clooney. Major Clooney.
If he's a major, why is he wearing a private uniform?
I promoted him this morning.
Okay, General.
This is a lovely comedic episode as well. I love that you have that shot of Lieutenant Burns looking, heroic and soldierly as he would because he's Captain Grey, and you have Clooney standing next to him with his head at a cockeyed angle.
Route and the information you must stop and find on the way is in them. Stick to the rules of this contest, and the first team in Monte Carlo with the correct answers to the questions wins.
Yeah, 'cause it's not just a straight race. There's a bit of a scavenger hunt element involved here as well.
Get to your vehicles.
A helijet will pick us up in 30 minutes. Take us to Monte Carlo to see the finish.
Fine. Well, I'll get them started.
We'll have to spend an afternoon in Monte Carlo together. Lovely music as well for this episode, especially composed Barry Gray score for this one. Again, I think it shows that, I don't know whether, to what extent they would have issued Barry Gray with the instruction, we need new music for this story, or if he would have been able to look at upcoming episodes and think, that would be a good one to do music for. That's it, Sam Louver has dropped the flag, and another lovely... The first shot of the race is of the 2 puppet-sized vehicle cabs trying to keep level with each other, and eventually the U-87 passes them. But that's 5 puppets on 2 different model sets having to be moved up and down. It's just, I can't even begin to work out how they did that. But it looks so impressive.
Let me pass! Roadhog!
I also love on some of these Joe 90 roads, and particularly you notice in HD that the roads only extend so far. There is clearly an end to the set. Not that you can see the edge of the set, you can just see there's no more road, there's just a load of greenery ahead. So now the U-87 is stopping to find the first clue.
Is this the bridge, Lieutenant?
Yes, sir. We have to find the year it was built. The date'll probably be carved in the stonework somewhere.
I love Keith Alexander's voice for this Lieutenant Burns character as well. He's like, oh, well, I don't know, it's sort of strained.
Yes, General, sir.
I don't know, it makes him feel a bit more real against the comedy antics of Clooney and Tempest to a lesser extent.
The opposition, sir.
Yeah, they may have taken the wrong road back there where I had the signpost switched.
Oh, he's a bounder.
Holds barred. Remember?
He's a bounder and a cad. Yep, sent them on the wrong road. Who's navigating this trip? Oh, Joe's navigating.
Yes, I've checked the map, and there's only one explanation.
I'm useless.
Been switched round.
That timing, General? We'll lose too many miles if we have to go back.
There's no need. We can turn off along here and pick up the coast road.
What about the first question? The age of the bridge?
That's the Alchester Bridge, built 1890. It's a well-known rally point.
That's my boy.
No, I'm not. I find that kind of disturbing, actually, when Shane and I think Sam Louver in another episode says, "That's my boy." It's like, we bought the deed to you, Joe. We now own you, body and soul.
Well?
1890. Would you believe it?
What kept you?
I got to talking to this guy, a fisherman. He told me the date and all about the bridge. Very interesting.
Clooney, this is supposed to be...
Oh, Clooney.
Social outing. Get in and drive.
You're a lovely guest character. But again, this angle of finding out the date the bridge was built and such, it wouldn't necessarily fly today because you just look it up on your phone. Anyway, the jet air car has driven straight off the cliff because it has wings.
It's driven straight off the edge of the cliff.
What? Weston, son of a gun. That heap of iron must be able to fly.
What are we going to do, sir?
Well, as I told the opposition, no holds barred.
Arm the missile.
The airport. Monte Carlo, here we come.
So this is presumably... The race is starting in England, ending in Monte Carlo. Yeah, how did that... Nobody seems to have planned... Well, no, the U-87 crew certainly don't seem to have planned for the fact that they would have needed to cross the channel at some point. But of course our heroes prepared for it. Meanwhile, the U-87 arrives at, I believe, the same model set from Colonel McLean, and we can see a couple of recognisable Captain Scarlet planes in the background there. I think that's the is it AV-21? Is that the plane from Splashdown? You see a few times in this show. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying the heck out of this. Now we are in France, apparently.
Well, we seem to have got a good lead. We'll take a 10-minute break and change drivers.
I checked on the
what could go wrong?
tide at Calais as we came through. We'll find the answer to the next question at the old ruin abbey at Fontaine.
Oh, here they come.
Where in tarnation did they come from?
Wow. If you're gonna stop and have a break.
To see us. You see their faces?
That twisting, scheming...
Steady, Mr. Weston. No holds barred, remember?
Again, not only is Clooney a really nice character in the idea of the character and the look of the character, the voice is brilliant as well from Gary Files there. The yokel soldier, what is he even doing in the army?
In that cheating, General? Calling up the Army weather station?
Son, you're a major now. How do you ever expect to make General thinking things like that?
I see that, sir.
Oh.
Do you suppose I ever will make General? General?
Clooney, when we win this race, you'll stay major for about 2 minutes. That's a promise.
Why, thank you, sir.
Oh, poor Clooney. Again, I love as well that this is a Tony Barwick script, and often the strength of his writing is in the humour, and that's a kind of joke that I don't know how many children would get. It is pitched at a slightly older audience.
The abbey. According to my calculations, we should save about 10 kilometres.
car is now leaving the ruined abbey, having presumably found the clue. Fonte Abbey, yes. The U-87 is just arriving.
Okay, let's go find the clue.
All right, Clooney, move!
A very nice trio of guest characters here. Again, when guest characters work on these shows, it's such a shame that you know you're only going to see them for one episode.
Kinda spooky in here, General.
All right, Clooney. The clue's supposed to be in a niche below the cross of St. David.
Here they are in the ruined abbey. Tempest and Clooney, and I believe this set appeared in another episode. I want to say either The Unorthodox Shepherd or More Haste, Less Speed.
You mean put my head in?
Because there's a little niche where the clue is hidden. Or was hidden, I should say, because Shane Weston has got to it already.
What have you found, sir?
I'm sure that's visible in another episode. Another cellar or basement or something.
Fine.
What does it say, General?
Sorry to disappoint you, General. Keep looking. Weston.
It says you're an imbecile, Clooney.
Yes, sir.
Gorgeous puppetry on Clooney saluting there.
The mountain soon.
That's got to be someone working the hand there.
With you driving now, Joe 90, we're gonna make it.
Are you insinuating?
No. Have a cigar, Professor.
Nothing like a premature victory.
We wasted an hour at those ruins. Just wait till I see Weston putting the clue halfway up a 20-foot wall.
They must have a good lead, sir.
I think they may find they get delayed.
Oh, who's going to delay them? Why, it's none other than Captain Magenta.
Have our orders. They wouldn't come from a General Tempest by any chance?
I'm sorry, that is classified information.
Voiced by Rupert Davies.
You are not carrying explosives?
As a French police officer, I've always wondered if that little bit of casting was in some way reflective of his role as Maigret.
Talking of the General, here he comes now.
Just wait for that greasy smile.
Greasy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Davies didn't voice any other characters in the show. No, he did. He did.
No. Call your goons off, Tempest.
I don't quite follow.
But not many.
Roadblock, supposedly looking for explosives.
Oh, there must be some mistake. Lieutenant?
Oui, General.
I can vouch for my friends here. Remove the roadblock.
Oui, General.
French police are so helpful.
Finish than I anticipated.
We can still beat you if you play it straight.
Why not?
Now,
I have the U-87
ready to restart the race.
Specially designed for mountain roads. And Major Clooney handles it like a charm.
Right. It's 50 miles to Monte Carlo. Let's make it a straight race.
Son of a gun. You're on.
I just hope the road doesn't turn out to be like glass, but I'm sure it won't. Oh, the police were blocking the road with an explosives truck from Colonel McLean.
Yes, sir. I'm ready to go.
Okay, Joe. Remember, you have the knowledge and experience of a top rally driver.
The U-87's faster, but I'm betting we've got the better driver.
Because if we haven't, my God, your life is not going to be worth living. That's it. Magenta's fired his gun into the air, no doubt shot down a passing helicopter or something. And again, we get this lovely image of the two puppet vehicle cabs.
Yes, sir.
Trying to pass each other. The U-87's already taken the lead.
Come on, Joe. Don't let him get away from you.
If I can slipstream him all the way, we've got a chance.
That doesn't sound likely to succeed, but you're the one with the brain pattern. Oh, stock footage. Lovely stock footage. I wonder where this has come from. And this music really helps sell it. I'm so glad this episode got its own special score. It does lend a lovely, not just an air of importance, but also a sense of fun and playfulness to the whole story that I think is one of the real strengths of it.
Come on, Joe 90!
Oh, watch the drop, Clooney. It's a long way down.
And quite a bit of stock footage of the roads here. And it's another lovely shot of the two models trying to overtake each other.
There's a long bend just ahead. I'm going to try and take them there.
For never have we seen vehicles on mountain roads in Gerry Anderson shows stay on those mountain roads for so long without falling off and crashing in a horrible fireball. Lovely model sets here as well, though. And the jet air car is almost passing as they approach a tunnel. Is it going to make it? Seems to be creeping up in front. That's it, as they round the bend. The jet air car has overtaken the U-87. There's a tunnel, and the jet air car got in first. Tunnel's only wide enough for one vehicle, so they have now taken the lead.
Piece of driving I've ever seen.
I do have to wonder, though,
Made it, Joe! We're gonna win!
Why this episode needed to be a dream episode, beyond the somewhat unlikely scenario that the army would have absorbed WIN at any point. Or at least WIN London only seemed to be the threat.
While I make it world intelligence are the winners by about 8 feet.
There's no reason for this to be a dream. Why is the dream template here? Although, as we later discover, it's going to set up material for another story.
Weston.
And there was Monte Carlo as represented by stock footage from Thunderbirds. I believe the man from MI5.
Like that, General? Thanks, Joe. You were just great.
Yay.
Can I have some more ice cream, please, Mr. Weston?
Of course you can. Garçon?
I've been thinking, General.
All right, Clooney. Hit me.
Oh.
Monte Carlo's a great place.
Yeah, we're all having a nice dinner together. No hard feelings.
Man, we'll soon be needing a new CNC. General Carter is retired.
And Mediterranean HQ is in Monte Carlo. Clooney, you're not quite so dumb as you make out.
Why, General, us mountain boys was always noted for our intelligence. How's the ice cream, Joe?
Fine, Major Clooney. Just fine.
That's it. It was all a dream.
And then everyone started to laugh.
Didn't need to be, but hey-ho.
We just laughed and laughed, Dad.
Yes, the tears were running down your cheeks, weren't they?
That's right, Dad.
Joe, you know what this means?
Not exactly.
Well, last night, when I gave you my brain pattern, we both had a dream. And the dream you had was exactly the same in every detail as mine.
Well, it's a lovely idea.
It means that the big rat can not only transfer the knowledge and experience of one brain to another, but also the patterns of the subconscious. Joe, we've made a very exciting discovery.
And I'm extremely lucky that you didn't have a slightly more, shall we say, adult dream than the one that you had, because that could have very easily have gone wrong. But putting aside the dream framework thing, which I'm not 100% on board with, because I don't really see the point of it, but it is a nice idea to end on that note of, we've made a discovery. This is a development, and I think possibly uniquely for an Anderson show, or at least a Super Mario Nation show, at least this show, that development is followed up on in a later episode. Talk Down, the episode with the pilot with the mental block on landing that he passes to Joe when they record the brain pattern. So that was the race. I hope you can tell from the way I've been talking about it that even for a Joe 90 episode, I've got a lot of time for this one. It's that nice, that very nice mix of adventure and silliness that I think makes this show work as well as it does so often. Tony Barwick always delivering the goods with this show. The fact that it's a dream, well, it doesn't really work against it. I just don't really see the point, especially as that possibly means that General Tempest and especially poor old Major Clooney never existed. Well now, sir, I say, sir, that's not good that Major Clooney did not exist. Because I like him an awful lot. I like Clooney, I like all these characters, I love this show, and I love this particular episode.
Well.
Yeah, Jamie. For the Joe 90.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
I mean, obviously, as Joe 90 episodes go, pretty noteworthy for the fact that it features redressed Captain Grey and Captain Magenta. Obviously, fascinating fact there about that episode.
You sound quite interested. Hang on.
Yeah.
You just read that, didn't you?
Oh.
You just read that?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I was trying to sound interested in it, but it's just
you
Joe
can't
90.
fool us. Yes, some people love Joe 90. Oh,
Yeah. Anyway, look, whenever I think of Joe and try to cheer myself up, I just think of doing the Joe 90 dance at a convention several years ago with Lee Sullivan. And the two of us skipping around in circles after a few beers.
Can imagine.
And
Yes.
so there you go. That's the best thing I can say about Joe 90 is it once meant that Lee and I had a couple of drinks. So there we go. Okay, anyway, thanks, Chris. Thanks so much for choosing the randomiser as Joe 90. I know it's not your fault, but it kind of is. So go away and think about what you've done and come back next week.
Oh, harsh. Anyway, over on Twitter, very quickly, Paul Guest says, I'm catching up on 2 whole Gerry Anderson podcasts. Jamie, Richard and Chris, reliably brilliant as always. I may be one of the few people using the pod to unwind after work instead of during a commute.
Ooh.
Yeah, interesting.
You might be.
Yeah. Lost in Transition posted, I'm so glad that Samira Ahmed enjoyed UFO. It's still my favourite live-action Gerry Anderson series. Yes, there are some attitudes of the times that would keep Shadow Human Resources Department busy for a considerable time, but the concept, sets, storylines and performances are highly entertaining and sometimes very dark. Even to this day, I still think that Dr. Doug Jackson is a very sinister character. His medical qualifications may be excellent, but his morality is questionable. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, fair.
And Gary Hodgkinson says, a cracking pod this week. Enjoyed the interview with Samira Ahmed on UFO and all the wonderful Spangly Anderson filling that makes the Gerry Anderson podcast so great. Cheers, Fab Trio.
Oh, here's to the Spangly filling.
Exactly. And there'll be more Spangly filling next week.
Can't wait.
Of course there will.
For yet more Spangly filling.
Yeah.
So don't forget to email us in about the 6 degrees of Anderson, in which you must connect in exactly 6 degrees of separation a dry whiteboard marker to Dick Spanner.
Great.
It should be easy. I'm sure you'll manage very well. Email us an answer to podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk and do write us a review or a rating or both and call it a rating. We'd love that.
Yep.
In fact, I forwarded you some rather nice reviews just the other day, didn't I? Weren't they lovely?
You did. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, so we do really appreciate those. Thank you. And, well, I guess that's it, isn't it?
I think that's probably it.
We come back next week again. Do you fancy that? Does that sound all right to you?
I mean, I'd be up for that, to be honest.
Okay, so pod 162, I suppose we'll do that in about 7 days after the release of this one.
Yeah, we'll do it then.
Yeah, so that'll be next week. Right, we'll be in your ears next week for 162.
Yeah, see you then.
Toodaloo.
Bye.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't find my Joe 90 fact fascinating.
You can't fool any of us, Jamie.
I tell you what,
weren't even interested yourself.
I could do for you is tell you a thing I know about the Space Precinct.
Right. Okay. Something that I won't know.
You might not know it, no.
Well, because I don't know if you know, Jamie, but I was in Space Precinct.
No, really?
So, yeah. So
okay.
It's quite a bit.
All right, fine. Well, here's something for you.
Go on, surprise me.
The Forever Beetle, Richard James.
Yes. Directed by Peter Duffel, yeah.
Yeah, all right. What was the original working title of that episode?
Oh, hang on a second. Hang on.
Don't go and cheat.
No, hang on, don't go anywhere. Charlotte!
I can't.
Charlotte, are you home? What was the original working title?
He won't know. There's no way. He won't get it. It's not sounding good.
Well, she doesn't know either.
Oh, what a terrible shame.
Isn't that awful? So, come on then, surprise me.
The original working title of the Forever Beetle was...
Yeah.
Quick Thinking.
Was it?
Yeah.
What's that got to do with anything?
Well, let me tell you. In the original script, Murphy's raid on Dexcore Laboratories appeared after Broger's interrogation of Amory Wolfe.
Right.
Yeah? Matt's red dot tarantula was played by both a real tarantula provided by animal actors and by a duplicate animatronic tarantula made by Neil Gorton's lot. Tarn scientist Dr. Long, obviously, as you know, was voiced by David Graham in that.
Yes.
Tarn girl,
why is it called
Senna
Quick
M.
Thinking?
I don't know. I don't have that information to hand.
You see, you've started this thing and you don't know how it's going to end, do you? Even you don't know.
I'm reading it from a book. That's
You're
why.
bluffing. I know. You just read it. None of it is first-hand information.
No, that's true. None of it is.
No.
Anyway, it's quite interesting that it was Quick Thinking. If you know why that was, Podsterons, do email us, podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. And if you've got any other fascinating facts that you can think of.
We say any other?
Yeah, just let us know.
That sort of implies that, anyway. Anyway. Great.
Okay.
Well done, Jamie.
Right, well, I'm sorry you didn't know that thing from the thing you were in and nobody was there to help you, but there we go.
Yeah, even the person who was there with me on the thing I was in didn't know.
No. Well.
Great.
Yeah, tell her to buck her ideas up, Right, have a nice week.
And you.
Speak to you next time. Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Wasn't it fun?
You have been listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.